All right, shalom, Hebrews. This Israel been Israel for the Israelite Brotherhood. And man, I ain't gonna just be doing a whole lot of history, and I'm gonna mostly talk about this issue of how the people in the promised land, the people that's called Palestinians and them Arabs, and how they getting their lights put out. You know what I'm saying? They getting their lights put out, and how they can't stop them Jews from taking over the land. You see, if them people knew that the Jews were not the Hebrew Israelites, if them Arabs knew that the Jews are not the Hebrew Israelites of the Bible, and that I can easily show this, then, if they knew this, it would stop their suffering. And if they showed this, and if they was to let this be known in the world, that the Jews are not the Hebrews of the Bible, you see, and that the Jews are not the Israelites of the Tanakh history. And if the Arabs let the world know that, then that will stop their suffering. And I'm going to show you Arabs and you other people how the Jews are not the Hebrew Israelites of the Bible. Man, that basically all my videos show this. All my videos show this. And I show you who the true Israelites is. And that's like it's another thing. Them Babylonian scribes, they done tricked the whole world. They done tricked the whole world on who is Israel. Is because they've been having writing abilities for thousands of years, like a 3,000 year head start on everybody. They done had 3,000 year head start of writing history on everybody. So, it's easy for the world to get tricked, because the history that's fashioned in the Western, what they call Western civilization, gonna come from them. You see, we dealing with some people, some Babylonian scribes, that got the Hebrews' heritage, and their roots go all the way back to the Tower of Babel. So it's gonna be hard to top that. And if you ain't been scribing and keeping history and what they call astrology and all that stuff since back then it's gonna be kind of hard to top them. And if you don't understand their roots, then it's gonna be basically hard to understand them. Well, these people come back to the promised land. You see, when we Israelites come out of Egypt under Prophet Moses with that law, which was nothing but a new culture. It was an anti-Egyptian, anti-Amorite, Babylonian culture that the Creator gave us Hebrews. And when we came out to Egypt, our culture was supposed to put their lights out, but that's like I showed in a previous video before this, how Pharaoh knew that, we had to be interfered with. Is why he gave Joseph Asenath. And they knew we was Hebrews, because Joseph even stated that he was kidnapped from the land of the Hebrews. So, Pharaoh gonna be real slick when he seen that a Hebrew answered his dreams, and that, that his prophecies was gonna be right. Then Pharaoh gave Joseph Asenath. And Asenath was the priest of On daughter. And, from there, our fall and stuff. But, what this video is about how basically all the world, the whole world, and all the tribes and ethnic groups are kind of like collaborating together. They can't be that stupid to know that the Jews are not the Israelites. You know what I'm saying? That the Jews are not the Israelites. And some of them concealing the fact, because they prosperity come in keeping that truth hid and concealed. You see what I'm saying? So, them Arabs can basically get them Jews up off them if they was to start saying that the people from the transatlantic slave trade are the true Hebrew Israelites. And like I say, I have the proof. And then this is another thing. Hebrews, you know what I'm saying? That's me, Shalom. Israel being Israel. All right, man, this is another thing, Hebrews. How about that they trying to mess the name Israel up? You know, the Jews, man, the Jews are trying to mess the name Israel up with bad deeds before we come into heritage, because if we recognize as the Israelites and we still hold that title Israel, Israel, then you know them Jews done put so much dirt on it, done put so much dirt on the name by the things that they have done since we abandoned our heritage to them. You see, when we abandon our heritage to them, then you know, man, it let all kind of stuff, you know what I'm saying, start to happen to our name that was out of our control. Because you know, when we abandon our heritage, we abandon our heritage to some Babylonian scribes. You see, some Babylonian scribes that's been keeping civilization history, world history for for thousands of years. And when we abandon our heritage to them folks, that man, it was basically over with for us, because them folks ain't gonna be too quick to be trying to give our heritage back. You know, they done had a good long ride with the name Israel, and they done done a lot of stuff under the name Israel, and they done got away with a lot of stuff with the name Israel. So they ain't gonna be too quick to want to turn our heritage over. It's also why we Hebrews have to show truth. We have to show truth on how we are the Hebrews. You know what I'm saying? And it's easy, because, you know, if you understand biblical history, you will understand that the Babylonian wars, that all our history lead up to the Babylonian wars, where the Hebrew Israelites ran into Africa thinking to escape the Creator's wrath and also breaking the covenant. You know what I'm saying? In the book of Jeremiah, is our key, because it showed that those Hebrews went into Africa to worship the Egyptian religions, never returned home. You see what I'm saying? And then I got a video with some information showing how the League of Nations divided Africa up. How the League of Nations divided Africa up, and those boundaries are from the League of Nations and the European nations, the people from the north, splitting Africa up, and how Egypt borders went way over here into what they call Libya. You see what I'm saying? Way over here in the Sahara. You know, Libya and Egypt is part of the Sahara. And they call us sub-Saharians is because we, you know, went and hid in these parts during the Babylonian wars. You know, Africa, in Northeast Africa, was seeing too many invasions in Egypt. And we was told that when we went into Egypt, that Nebuchadnezzar was going to come there looking for us. And that's one of the quietest kept history on this earth, is how Nebuchadnezzar came into Egypt looking for them Hebrew Israelites that didn't want to do the covenant, and how he didn't capture nobody and deport nobody to Babylon or take nobody away from Egypt that was a Hebrew Israelite. I got proof how the Hebrews went into Egypt, into Africa, the Sahara, to worship the Egyptian religion, never returned home, because the exiles, the 1% that was taken to Babylon, when they come home, that's the book of Ezra, Nehemiah, Haggai, Zechariah, Malachi. Those books, those prophets tell you the history of the exiles that come back from Babylon. You know, and they didn't record the Queen of Heaven worshipers coming out to be reunited with them. You know, I have their history too in detail. You know how the Hebrews from the Babylonian captivity, when they made it home, how they didn't record the people that went into Africa in the book of Jeremiah. You see what I'm saying? And how they didn't record them coming back home, and how the people in the book of Jeremiah that went into Africa to worship and live would have had to been recorded when they came back, because they went into Africa to to do the Egyptian religion, the Queen of Heaven. And the Queen of Heaven religion was something that the Creator was against. You see what I'm saying? So we know that those Hebrews didn't come back out of Egypt, out of Africa, to be reunited with the other Hebrews that had, come back from Babylon. The Hebrews that went into Egypt, into Africa, they disappeared off the maps of history because wasn't no scribes or nobody recording the exiles, the people that went into Africa's history. The exiles didn't record the Queen of Heaven worshippers' history. So some had to happen to them Hebrews that went into Africa to do the Egyptian religion. Some had to happen to them Hebrews that went into Africa to do the Egyptian religion. In the history that we got, what happened to them is called the curses. The curses. Prophet Moses set the curses out, and he said that once the covenant was broken, then it wasn't no escaping what happened to the Hebrews. And he outlined it in detail. And one of the curses was being taken to Egypt in ships. Being taken to Egypt in ships with yoke on your necks. You know what I'm saying? With yoke on your neck. And we know that happened. You know what I'm saying? We know that the Hebrews was taken to Egypt in ships. And I show how America is the Egypt that the Hebrews was prophesied being taken to. Because, in New York, you got some of the main key symbols that, symbolize our enslavement and connection to Egypt. It's gonna be these relics right here. This relic right here is the that obelisk is gonna be the obelisk that they put up at the beginning of our enslavement when we was in Egypt during Prophet Moses' time. That obelisk right there was erected. And then that statue right there, that's the statue of Necho. Necho gonna be the evilest pharaoh around because he killed King Josiah. King Josiah freed us from the Egyptian religion. We was off Egyptian religion for 30 years. We was off Egyptian religion for 30 years, and then that monster come out and kill King Josiah and put us back on the Egyptian religion. And then that's when the Creator told the prophet Habakkuk to go on and call Ashkenazi. And Ashkenazi came and chased us into Africa. Ashkenazi came and chased us into Africa under the name Scythian. Under the name Scythian. You see, our history is kind of hid well good, and the people who got our heritage got a lot of years of scribing and keeping administrations. You see what I'm saying? Keeping administrations. Them gonna be the people that chased us into Africa. You see what I'm saying? Them gonna be the people that chased us into Africa. Them folks right there. Them folks right there. Them gonna be the Scythians. They made up the Chaldean nation. They took Chaldea over from the Assyrians and launched their attack on us from there. And then they chased us into Africa because we said that we was going to do the Egyptian religion. And this was a state of mind. You see, if them Arabs knew this, and if them Arabs and them other folks knew that the Jews are not the Israelites, then it'd be wrong for them to be getting a bruise like they is over there. You see what I'm saying? Because it's proof to show that the Jews are not the Hebrews. You see that name Sepharvim. You see that name Sepharvim. Okay, that name Sepharvim is connected to Babylon. You see that name Sepharvim is connected to Babylon, and then that's gonna be where the Babylonian scribes come from. The Babylonian scribes that was placed in our land, They come from this land called Sipper. Sipper. They come from this land called Sipper right here. All right, look, you see Sipper. Sipper, that's short for Sepharvaim. You know, those are Amorites. You know, Babylon is founded by Amorites. You know what I'm saying? We know that Nimrod and them with the Tower of Babel, but these gonna be the people that kept the archives and kept the history and kept the commerce and kept the history of Babylon, of its gods, Murdoch, the Anikis, and you know what I'm saying, the Anakims, and all them old Babylonian gods. You know, they are responsible for its history. You know, they are responsible for the whole Mesopotamian history. Matter of fact, their history is what started Western civilization, Western history. You know, we know Egypt had played a great part in Western civilization. And the part that Egypt played in Western civilization is going to come from these people that went into Egypt during the Greek times. You see what I'm saying? During the Greek times. And those people was placed in our land in 722 BC, and then they're responsible for Babylon's history. You know, they're responsible for Babylon's history, and when we abandon our history to them, man, it was a wrap. You know, it was a wrap to them, you know, because we hadn't been interested in our history for some thousands of years, you know, and the only reason we got interested in our history is because of our enslavement. You know, our history was took from us, and we've been shipped to the strange land like the Creator said. You know, we've been shipped to the strange land like the Creator said. And we got interested in our history because the names in the culture that these Babylonian scribes been trying to ascribe to us ain't been sitting well with us. You know we had a greater destiny and come from a greater heritage than what these folks been trying to put down on us. And this is what I want to explain, how them Arabs and how the European nations, they all in cahoots with trying to keep the Israelites' history hidden, the real Israelites. Like I said, you know, them folks trying to mess our name up, man, before we even come into heritage. And these folks get their rule by creating myths. You see what I'm saying? They created a lot of myths too, you know, but you see that Sepharvaim. Sepharvaim is the Hebrew name for Sephardi, Sephardic, and Sephardim. You know what I'm saying? That's the Jewish. These are the Jewish groups. Ashkenazi code name in history is Scythian. Whenever you're reading about the Scythians in history, you're reading about Ashkenazi. You see what I'm saying? You ain't gonna get too much history on the Sephardims and the Sephardis because they've been scribing for thousands of years, and they're responsible for the recording of Western history. So you're not gonna get their history, and you're not gonna get too much information readily about them because they're responsible for all the other information. They've been scribes for thousands of years. Your encyclopedias and your sources of information that say what group come from here or there are dealing with the recordings of ancient history gonna been filtered through them, and they not gonna leave their name nowhere, but they around, and they control the banking industry and they control the media. Those two entities that they control the whole world. If you control information and the information that the people get, and then you control the money, the currency that the people have to do trading with, then you know you control the people. And you know they've been controlling the people, and they whole heritage is false, you know, because they get their heritage after the people, the real Hebrews, abandoned their heritage for Egyptian religion. Like I say, if the Arabs knew this and the Arabs tried to show the world this, then it'll stop them from being abused. If the Russians and the Chinese want to get the Jews to back up off them and stop doing some of the stuff that they doing in the world, if the people in Iraq, Turkey and Egypt and Sudan and all these nations, if they want to get the Jews to stop doing what they doing to them, all they have to do is say, all it would take is for their leaders to say that the real Hebrews were taken during the transatlantic slave trade, and then explain how those Hebrews broke the covenant for Egyptian religion. You see what I'm saying? And this go all the way back to the Babylonian wars. But we Hebrews gonna get our heritage anyway, because the Creator say he gonna bring us back, and that we will get our heritage. So ain't nothing they can do or nothing they can say stop what's fixing to take place. And we got Hebrews rising up everywhere. Hebrews rising up everywhere. Okay, Hebrews, and people of the world, if you want to get some clarity and understand what's going on in the world, you have to go to the Tanakh, and you have to read the biblical history, and you have to keep in mind that at the last part of the Hebrews history, they ran into Africa. You know, from Exodus to the book of Jeremiah, from Exodus all the way to the book of Jeremiah is 800 years. It's like we only stayed in the land 800 years. So when we come out of Egypt, we didn't leave no big major footprint that can let you know that we are the Hebrews. You know, because half the time we was in the promised land, we did Egyptian religion. We was doing Egyptian religion. But here it is right here. This is what, you know, separate the Jews from the real Hebrew Israelites, is that the real Hebrew Israelites went into Africa to do the Egyptian religion. And if you read chapter 44, verse 15, 16, 17, and 18, you will see that it was a state of mind. Then all the men knew that their wives had burned incense unto other gods, and all the women that stood by a great multitude, even all the people that dwelt in the land of Egypt and Pathros, answered Jeremiah, saying, as for the word that thou hast spoken unto us in the name of the Elohim, we will not hearken unto thee, but we will certainly do so whatever thing go forth out of our own mouth, to burn incense unto the Queen of Heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto her, as we have done, we and our fathers, our kings, our princes, in the cities of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem. For then had we plenty of food, and were well, and saw no evil. But since we left off to burn incense unto the Queen of Heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto her, we have wanted all things, and have been consumed by sword and by famine. That was a state of mind. That was a state of mind, and that state of mind gonna develop from us dealing with that Egyptian culture. You know, that's like I show in the other videos, how we Hebrews left Egypt, and how we never kind of like stopped doing the Egyptian religion, and how the tribe of Ephraim is gonna be the hidden seed of destruction for us Hebrews, because it was through the tribe of Ephraim that the Egyptians worked. And the tribe of Ephraim gonna be the youngest tribe, being that was Joseph's youngest son. And we know that the prophet Jacob blessed Joseph's sons in as, you know, tribes, you know, Joseph's inheritance. And it was through the tribe of Ephraim that the Egyptians were able to, you know, keep their culture going. Because like I said, the Egyptians had to do trade on the other side of the promised land. You know, the Egyptians had to do trade on the other side of the promised land. And in the other videos, I established how the Egyptians did trade with the Assyrians. And then I could show doing what they call satire history. Satire history is Saite. Satire history is going to be when the Assyrians placed the kings of the the kings of Egypt on the throne, they had ran that Nubian, Ethiopian stock up out of there. See, it was two kind of Egyptians, and the Egyptians from what they call Lower Egypt gonna be the Egyptians that exodus with us during Moses' time, because the Egyptians from the Upper Egypt, the Nubian, Ethiopian stock come on the throne, and then we were Exodus, and that's gonna be that Pharaoh that didn't know Joseph. That's going to be the Pharaoh that didn't know Joseph. But all the Pharaohs was working together, because the Pharaoh from Lower Egypt is going to be the one that gave Joseph Asenath. And from Asenath, you get Ephraim. And then from Ephraim, even though they had the most powerfulest leader, the prophet Joshua, the prophet Joshua, but the tribe of Ephraim would break real bad during Jeroboam time after Solomon's death. You see, that's like I got in some videos explaining that from the prophet Samuel all the way to King David is like 130 years. Samuel, Saul, and King David was like 130 years that we did the covenant and tried to do right and get our inheritance and get rid of those folks that we were supposed to. And then when Solomon come on around about 970, 971 BC, it was downhill from there, and we never recovered. I got a video explaining how Solomon was real wicked and how Solomon caused us to lose our heritage, because from Solomon doing his evil, wicked deeds and how he was connected to the Egyptians. He got horses and chariots and silk and all kind of fabrics and stuff from the Egyptians. And that would let the Egyptians do trade, and that would keep the Egyptian culture alive. You see, if we did the covenant, Egypt couldn't come across the promised land, and it was like curtains for Egypt, as same as the Mesopotamian religions. That's why the Creator said that he gave us from the Nile River all the way to the Euphrates. You see, that's blocking Egypt and killing that Amorite, Canaanite culture. But history showed that when we left during Moses' time, and then after Joshua, we started parlaying with the enemies. We started kicking it with the enemies, and the enemies trick us every time with party, drink, and free will range. You know what I'm saying? That's like on now. I just seen on TV with a brother with a skirt on, with a black skirt on. You see how they done reduced us mentally and morally, and we don't have no unity. The only unity that we start to assemble now is in the Hebrew Israelite community. And the majority of those Hebrews, us Hebrews in the Israelite community, a great portion of our Hebrew community believe in Jewish myths and lies and stuff, man. So, we still in bad shape, and it's kind of hard, to get the people together, because, the people don't know no true history and stuff. But I tell you what, if the Hebrews start telling other Hebrews to watch these videos that I got, then you're going to start to understand, because the Creator, doing this right here, for the simple reason is that I come from a background that you would never understand, and you would never even thought that I'd be anywhere near some biblical history, less alone understanding that we Israelites. You see what I'm saying? So, the Creator is working, and he can work through all of us if we understand that we are the Hebrews, and that we broke the covenant in the book of Jeremiah. That we broke the covenant in the book of Jeremiah. You see what I'm saying? We broke the covenant in the book of Jeremiah. We must understand that. All right, Hebrews, these are the myths. Oh, yeah, you know what I'm saying? I want to show how old Joseph got Asenath. And then from Asenath, the Egyptian religion, rolled, you know what I'm saying? And then from there, our downfall come about, and then that's when we abandon our heritage to the Jews. You know, we abandon our heritage to the Jews, and the Jews today ain't nothing but the Sephardi groups, the Sephardim, Sephardic, and Sephardim. And the other group is Ashkenazi. You know what I'm saying? But the Sephardims gonna be the worst ones because they Babylonian scribes and they like to tell stories and they write. You see what I'm saying? That's like they recorded the whole Western civilization history come from them. They the founders of it. The whole Western civilization come from Babylon. Come from the people that kept the history from Babel all the way to now. Gonna be them Sephardims. And they are Amorites. And it's like when we abandon our heritage for the Egyptian religion that I just read in the book of Jeremiah, then we abandon our heritage to them. And they immediately start writing. You know, they, especially after the exiles were destroyed, they come back from Babylon. I have history on the exiles, how they was destroyed for trying to mix with the enemies that we couldn't pass our heritage over to. And then after the Greeks got rid of the exiles and those people went into Egypt, and that's why you get the Lichemists, the Ptolemies, all of them claiming the Israelite heritage. And they would start writing books immediately and translating our history. And they didn't record the people that went into Africa to do the Egyptian religion. They didn't record us, and our history stayed blank for thousands of years to now, like 2,700 years. Our history stayed blank for like 2,700 years. You know what I'm saying? Been about that time. You know, but the Babylonian scribes done tricked the whole world on who is Israel, because after we abandoned our heritage to them, ran into Africa in the book of Jeremiah, you know, prophet Isaiah even prophesied, you know, that the land would be empty. The prophet Jeremiah said it so many times that the land would be empty because we kept doing the Egyptian religion. Like I say, that the Egyptians killed King Josiah after he cleaned the whole Israel up. And this lets you know that it wasn't no 10 lost tribes, because if King Josiah clean up the whole Israel, then how could it be possible to be any 10 lost tribes during the Syrian times? You know, man, there's so much history, but I basically cover all this history in all the videos. You know, all the videos I go over and over and over this, over and over and over, you know, over and over. And I show how the Egyptians tricked us, and then how from the Egyptians tricking us, how we would, you know, go into Africa to do their religion. And then from there, you know, our enslavement come down. And then the people that we abandon our heritage to, it's documented evidence that they participated in our slave trade. You know what I'm saying? That they participated in the slave trade, because them people went across, you know, when the Edomite temple was destroyed in 70 AD, then, you know what I'm saying, them folks, you know, got chased across, you know, North Africa by them Romans, Ashkenazi kin folks, and then they would go settle in Portugal and Spain, and then they would, you know, do trade throughout whole Africa. That's like I see it also, Hebrews. You know, we so green that we call them African folks, them African Jews, Hebrews, and they ain't never been in no kind of slavery. They ain't been in no kind of slavery. They ain't been in no kind of captivity. And it's a known fact that everybody that's still on the west coast of Africa that was there and there before the transatlantic slave trade had their hands in the transatlantic slave trade. That's like I said, that if the people in West Africa wasn't part of the transatlantic slave trade, then it would be showing some history when they resettled back in them parts, because it would have been impossible to live on the west coast of Africa during the transatlantic slave trade if you wasn't part of that, for the simple reason that them folks would take you and sell you, and that they have no love, and that they show no love. that they don't have no love and they ain't showing no love. So if you on the west coast of Africa doing the transatlantic slave trade and your tribe didn't go nowhere, 9 out of 10 you had your hands in it, because during the slavery days, folks would have got on the way, and it would have been a bad thing, a bad omen to live in West Africa, anywhere near West Africa, being that you could get enslaved, and that news would have spread from tribe to tribe till the whole Africa would have known to stay away from West Africa. But guess what? Them folks been there, and they was there before the transatlantic slave trade, and they still there. And guess what, Hebrews? Them folks are connected. Them folks are connected to the Jewish trade routes. You know what I'm saying? That's like them Nigerian Igaboos and all them folks where the Jews converted them a long time ago. And that's why come they didn't get on no ships. And that's why come they trying to say, now you can't be no Hebrew if you didn't come through the Igaboos, because the Igaboos do Judaism. They didn't suffer no curses, and they ain't up under no curses, and they wasn't taken to no strange land for no slavery or none of that stuff. And this is the Jewish trade routes that they had long time ago, that they been had for thousands of years. These are trade routes from thousands of years that go all the way to Babylon, to all the way to to China and back. So them people made Jews everywhere. All over they made Jews. They made Jews everywhere. And then them black Jews, man, they say that they Israel and stuff, that ain't never suffered none of the curses, can't be the Israelites. It's impossible, because they didn't go through the curses. And who in their right mind gonna say that the Creator exempts some of the people? That's like I done had to check a few Hebrews by saying, oh, the Creator, everybody didn't get on the ships and taken to slavery. Then if you didn't get on that ship, then you ain't no Hebrew Israelite, because it took 250 years to remove us Hebrews from Africa. You see what I'm saying? That's like I say, all them folks, man, all them folks in it together. The black Jews in it together. They don't want us to have our heritage. Them Hamites, the Arabs in it, because if them Arabs had any common sense, they would just say that the tribes of Israel was taken during the transatlantic slave trade. You see what I'm saying? That's why come you can't believe them on your heritage. They lie. The enemies lie. You see what I'm saying? And man, the Hebrews, man, we need to start stressing how we are the Hebrews, because of what happened in the book of Jeremiah. You see, if you watch my videos and you understand that I'm explaining what happened to us that caused our downfall, and we start pushing that, then, man, we could change our own destiny too. But we have to get the message out that the Jews are not the Hebrews. The Jews are not the Hebrews. And like I said before, they trying to dirty the name Israel up by these false deeds and this false stuff that they doing, and this wicked stuff that they doing, and how they oppressing them other people, them Palestinians and them other folks, how they oppressing them folks in the land don't even belong to the Jews, because during the Assyrian times when they was placed, they stayed in our land before we abandoned covenant in the book of Jeremiah during the Babylonian wars, like 134 years, like 722 BC, when they was placed in our land, and we abandoned our heritage in 588 BC. Then, they got our heritage, and, we abandoned it to them after they was placed in our land 134 years later. And if you go to, I was finna show about about Joseph and Asenath and Ephraim, but I got a video covering that. So let's get into this. I ain't gonna make this no long video, but like I say, this is what them Arabs got to do to get them folks up off them, get them Jews up off them. Them Jews ain't gonna get up off them unless you show some truth. And then this is how you show truth. If you go to 2 Kings chapter 17 verse 24, this is in 15 BC, 722 BC. And the king of Assyria brought men from Babylon and from Cuddar and from Abel and from Hamath and from Sepharvaim and placed them in the cities of Samaria instead of the children of Israel. And they possessed Samaria and dwelt in the cities thereof. Okay, those folks will stay there. And as you read over here, they was doing the heritage that they had in the northern kingdom. So they feared the Elohim and made unto themselves of the lowest of them priests of the high places, which sacrificed for them in the name of the house of the, of the high places. They feared the Elohim and served their own gods after the manner of the nations whom they carried away from thence. And then as you read, man, and then you get over here to 41, it says, so these nations feared the Elohim and served their graven images, both their children and their children's children, as they did and their fathers, so do they do unto this day. And it's showing up the truth, because that's what they do today. But you see that name Sepharvaim. The name Sepharvaim is the father word for Sephardic, Sephardim, and Sephardi. Those gonna be Babylonian scribes right there. Those are the Babylonian scribes that we abandon our heritage to in the book of Jeremiah. When I read that we went into Africa to do the Queen of Heaven religion, the 99%, all the tribes, and that it wasn't no 10 lost tribes. You see, if them Arabs knew this, they could back them Jews up off of them. You see, if the Arabs knew that the Jews wasn't the Israelites, then they could back them Jews up off them, because them Jews gonna be Amorites that from Babylon, that when we went into Africa, we let them get their land back. But that's all it is. We let the Amorites get their land back, because the Sepharvims are Amorites. Those are Amorites from Babylon. And they slick had a covenant, before we did. But if you go to 2 Chronicles 30, this is 7 years after they was placed in our land, you'll see that them folks was at the Passover dinner. This is under King Hezekiah. King Hezekiah just wanted everybody to come to the Passover, man. We was all messed up. And he was trying to get us to get our act together. But some strangers came to the Passover dinner out of Israel. And that's going to be them folks. And all the congregation, this is 2 Chronicles 30, verse 25. And all the congregation of Judah with the priests and the Levites, and all the congregation that come out of Israel, and the strangers that come out of the land of Israel that dwell in Judah, rejoice. You see, so them able to come to the Passover dinner and kick it and eat with us, with all the dancing, the music, and all that stuff. You see what I'm saying? And then they come to the Passover dinner, and then they ain't driven out because they kindred people. The Babylonians came. You see, after the Assyrians were defeated by the Babylonians, then the Babylonians came, and then that's going to be the book of Jeremiah. And when we go into Africa in the book of Jeremiah, because I can show the whole land was empty. The whole land was empty. Either you was that 1% took into Babylon, or you was that 99% that ran into Africa. And then that's what the book of Jeremiah tell you, how the Creator said that he was going to get us up off the land. Man, there's so many verses say he was going to get us up off the land. All right, this Jeremiah 44. Thus said the Elohim of hosts, the Yah of Israel, you have seen all the evil that I have brought upon Jerusalem and upon all the cities of Judah. And behold, this day they are a desolation, and no man dwelleth therein. You see, no man dwelleth therein. You see what I'm saying? The Creator had sent for Ashkenazi, these folks to men to chase us up off the land. And that's what the book of Habakkuk is about. That's what the book of Habakkuk is about. It is about them come chasing us up off the land. That's going to be Ashkenazi. Those going to be the people from the north that Jeremiah told to come, get us. But if you go to Jeremiah, I think it's 4:1. Let me see. This is going to be like the beginning, man. He constantly telling us that he going to get us up off the land. The Creator did. All right. If thou wilt return, O Israel, saith the Elohim, return unto me, and if thou wilt put away then abominations out of my sight, then shalt thou not remove. Shall thou not remove, meaning remove out the land. You see what I'm saying? And then that happened. You see, we was kicked out the land. All right, and then if you go to 4:7, all right, he was telling us that them folks was gonna come get us. The lion is come up from his ticket, and the destroyer of the Gentiles is on the way. He is gone forth from his place to make thy land desolate, and thy cities shall be laid waste without inhabitant. Without inhabitant. And that's what them folks came to do. You see what I'm saying? And when they chased us into Africa and we never come back home, then we abandon our heritage to them Jews, and they been having our heritage ever since then. And then that's why they over there tearing them Palestinians' mouth out and all them other folks' mouth out. Because them folks don't know no true history, and they don't know what happened. See, they don't know what happened to the Hebrews, and they don't know history because they haven't wrote no history, and all their history they get from the Jews or from their religious figures that's been influenced by Jews. You see what I'm saying? So they don't know no history, and that's why their mouth getting tore out. But if they could show the Jews that they are not the Israelites, and that the Israelites are the people from the transatlantic slave trade that was taken into slavery with yoke on their neck, then them folks will be able to back them folks up off them and stuff, and they ain't gonna be able to back them up off of them unto them. You see what I'm saying? You ain't gonna be able to get them Jews up off you, man, until you show that the Hebrews are the people that was taken in the transatlantic slave trade. You see? And then that's what they don't do. And then that's their biggest mistake, is because they listen to the Jews on who they are. And the Jews ain't finna never say that they ain't Israel, because that's where they get their power from. That's where they get their power from. They know that covenant is real that Moses gave us, real Hebrews, and they don't want to let that go. They don't want to let that go, because if they let that go, then they finna become victims to it. It's a portion in the Tanakh to say that the bad stuff that come on us Hebrews and what the enemies inflict on us gonna come back on them. You see what I'm saying? But if them Arabs don't tell them folks and show the world that the Jews are not the Israelites, and then show some real history, then them Jews ain't finna take their hand up off them. The Creator already said that the land gonna be destroyed with fire. Maybe that's gonna have to happen. But if they want to save some lives, if they want to save themselves from the wrath of the Creator, then they got to let the world know. The Arabs have to let the world know that the Jews are not the Israelites, and that the Jews are not the people that broke the covenant. That's why come they don't have a history like the curses. You see what I'm saying? And that's why come we have a history like the curses. It's because we are the Hebrews that ran into Africa during the Babylonian wars. You see, we ran into Africa during the Babylonian wars, and we never returned home. After the exiles were freed from Babylon, Ezra, Nehemiah, Haggai, Zechariah, and Malachi, those 5 prophets covered the exiles from Babylon. And they didn't record the Queen of Heaven worshipers coming out of Africa to be reunited with them. That would have been a great day if the people in Africa, us Hebrews that ran to live there, had changed our mind and came back home to be with the exiles. I'm sure the Creator would have uplifted all our plagues and would have found some way to chase all our enemies out of our land, because the only way that the enemies come to our land is if we sin. But it was some people in our land that we didn't drive out, and that's going to be the Sephardi people's roots, the Amorites. And the Sephardis are Amorites from Babylon. You see, if you go look up the founders of Babylon and the founders of Sippar, it's going to tell you that this is an Amorite created civilization. So if we Hebrews didn't drive out the Amorites, if we didn't drive out the Amorites during our stay in the promised land, and that the Amorites were still there. And then when we go into Africa, then these Amorites got their land back, and then you got a portion of them claiming the Israelite heritage from association. I show how the Sephardims came to the Passover dinner under King Hezekiah, and how they did our heritage all the way till we left and went into Africa. You see, when we left and went into Africa, then we abandoned our heritage to them people. And that's how they got our heritage. And they not finna tell nobody that they not the children of Israel. It's just by the grace of the Creator Almighty Yah that we waking up and we able to put evidence together to show this. But like I say, if them Arabs want to stop them Jews from doing what they doing to them, then all they got to do is say that, the Israelites was taken during the transatlantic slave trade. And it's like, this is the biggest con game. This is the biggest con game, Hebrews, is when they come with DNA. When they try to say, well, your DNA don't match the people's in the land DNA. We can't be swayed and tricked by DNA, for the simple fact is that they don't have no DNA of the prophets. They don't have Abraham's DNA. They don't have Isaac's DNA. They don't have Jacob's DNA. They don't have Jacob's son's DNA. So they can't say what an Israelite DNA is. But guess what they did? They went and got their kindred's bone, their bones, the Amorite bones, and then they hold the bones up and say, look, these bones been here for 5,000 years, for 6,000 years. This is the Israelites' bones, and our DNA share their DNA. It's because they are Amorites. They are Amorites. Even if they in Babylon, they still Amorites. That's like if you take a Hebrew Israelite and you transport him to China, he's still going to be a Hebrew Israelite. He just going to be a Hebrew Israelite in China. Well, them folks were, Sephardims were Amorites. And the Amorites founded Babylon. So when they hold up the Amorites' DNA and try to say that that's Israel DNA because they are the Jews that we abandon our heritage to, claiming our history, and then they've been recognized as Israel for 2,700 years. For almost 3,000 years, they've been recognized as Israel. Then the people gonna say, yeah, that's their bones and that's them. But that's false. That's false, and I'm showing you that it's false. I'm showing you that the Sephardims were placed in Samaria in 722 BC, and that they was Amorites already from Babylon. And when they was placed in Samaria by the king of Assyria, it's like they was being reunited back with their home, with their homeland. And then while they was placed in Samaria, we was on Egyptian religion. We was on Egyptian religion already. We was on Egyptian religion. So we didn't pay no attention to them folks. And then King Josiah, when he cleaned up the whole Israel, them folks abandoned whatever evil wickedness that they was doing around King Josiah time till the Egyptians killed him. And then when the Egyptians killed him, and then we went back to Egyptian religion, and then we was chased off the land by Ashkenazi under the name Scythian that made up the Chaldean army. Then we left our heritage to them people. And that's like, Hebrews don't know that Ashkenazi settled in the Discopolis cities. In the Discopolis cities, Scythopolis was the head place. And how about Jesus spent this whole time with them? See, you Hebrews thought that some Hebrews was in the New Testament, but I show all the time and in plenty of videos that it wasn't no Hebrews in the New Testament, because the people that had chased us into Africa during the Babylonian wars had settled there, and they never left. And you best believe that the exiles, I show on the video that the exiles only lived in Jerusalem, and that they only lived in Judah's inheritance, and that all the tribes come from Babylon. That 1% was a mixture of all the tribes. That all the tribes represent that 1% that was taken to Babylon, that was freed by the Persians. It's like I got videos showing how the sister Esther and what went on during the sister Esther time, how on the 13th them people thought to destroy us on the 13th of Adar, and how we flipped it around and destroyed them. You know, it's a lot going on, Hebrews, but that New Testament, ain't no Hebrews gonna be in the New Testament, and that's what's holding us up, because you have a segment of us doing demigod worship, the religion that them Babylonian scribes created. You see, all the religions, just about every religion in the Western Hemisphere, the Babylonian scribes created. I don't care what name you call it. I don't care what name you call it. You know what I'm saying? Them gonna be some Babylonian scribes. You know, and that's just the way it is. You know, and this is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. This is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. You know, I show how we Hebrews ran into the Sahara. I show how we Hebrews ran into the Sahara. I show how we Hebrews abandoned our heritage to the Jews that's responsible for Babylon's history. Babylon's whole history they're responsible for. And how we abandon our heritage to them, and how they tricking the whole world. You know what I'm saying? They've been tricking the whole world from the time that we abandoned our heritage. See, if we abandoned our heritage during the Babylonian wars, and we didn't have no scribes to go into Africa to record us breaking the covenant, then we was cut off, and that was the end of our history then. You see, that was the end of our history as Hebrews. That's why the Creator said that He'll give us a new covenant, not like the one that we got from Egypt when we broke the covenant, you know, in the book of Jeremiah, and how this new covenant, it ain't gonna be nothing like that, because the Babylonian scribes got our heritage, and they convinced the whole world that they are the Israelites. You see, and then they dirtying our name up. Behold, this Jeremiah 31. Behold, the days come, said the Elohim, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which my covenant they break, although I was a husband unto them, said the Elohim. But this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, said the Elohim. I will put my law in their inward parts, and will write it in their hearts, and will be their Yah, and they shall be my people, and they shall teach no more every man his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, know the Elohim, for they shall all know me, from the least of them unto the greatest of them. For I said the Elohim, I will forgive their iniquity, and I will remember their sin no more. You see, that's what we waiting on. You see, that's what we waiting on, you know what I'm saying, to happen. And it's starting to take place, because we're not going to be able to compete with the Jews with our old heritage and our old books, because they translated it into their language. That's like the language, the Hebrew that's spoken now is not the Hebrew that was spoken that the Creator communicated with the Hebrews with. That's not the same language. And that how Aramaic and all those languages are the languages of the invaders. Okay, the Creator gonna give us a new covenant and a new history, not like we had in Egypt, because we abandoned our heritage to some scribes, some people that's been recording and keeping history for thousands of years before we even come in, you know, turn into Hebrews. Okay, Hebrews, this is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. Like I say, if them Arabs want to get them Jews, if them Arabs want to get them Jews up off them, if them Arabs want to get them Jews up off them, all they got to do is say that the Jews are not the Hebrews from the Bible, and that those are not the people that Moses dealt with, and that the people that Moses dealt with were taken during the transatlantic slave trade. All right, Hebrews, this is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. Shalom. This is Israel ben Israel.